Ardi, let me start with you. Did the ICJ get this right?
I think they did, Ian, yes. Since the events of October kicked off, you've got 26,000 people that are killed in the Gaza Strip, 1.7 million forcibly transferred. Starvation as a tool of war is being used against these people, indiscriminate bombardment, and all of that coupled with statements of intent to destroy in whole or in part members of an ethnic group, et cetera, by the high command of Israel, the prime minister, the defense minister, and so on. And so the court today issued a provisional measures order indicating that genocide in Gaza is plausible and that Israel has an obligation to cease its genocide of the Palestinian people. I think they got it right.
Sarah, I know this is a big question, but take at least part of it in perspective here. Was this the right decision?
I think in terms of the, when we're talking about the plausibility of genocide, I would say that they got it wrong, or at least the majority did. And if you look at the dissenting opinion of Justice Sebudente and as well as the declaration of Justice Nolt out of Germany and the Israeli judgment as well from Aharon Barak, I think those judgments more so got it right in terms of the plausibility. And I think what's specifically missing here is the specific element of intent. I think that we simply don't have enough in terms of evidence showing that specific element of intent. And some of those judges really went through it quite well in terms of looking at the specific statements that were used by South Africa and sort of putting those into the proper context and looking at the dozens of clarifying statements that have come out of those same offices saying that Israel is complying with the laws of war.
So this is a court that has perhaps a lot of moral influence, at least with some, but no sort of enforcement power. Sarah, what do you think will change? Will anything change based on today's decision?
Well, I mean, importantly, the court ordered that Israel report back in a month as to how it's doing with the order. So that will probably be the most immediate next step. Perhaps we'll see a resolution tabled at the United Nations General Assembly or Security Council about this. And I think critically, if you look at the actual points that the court ordered, a lot of those points from Israel's public statements are things that they're not opposed to in principle. So abiding by the Genocide Convention, ensuring that their troops don't commit genocide, preventing and punishing incitement. These are all things that the Israeli government has already said that it will do. So probably they'll report back on those steps, and then maybe after that, yes, a resolution of some sort.
Ardi, what do you think will change or ought to change now?
Well, it strikes me as odd that Sarah would suggest that the Israelis would be content for having to report to the court on measures they're taking to abide by their obligations under the Genocide Convention. Their position was very clear. It's a matter of public record. They wanted this case to be struck from the record and struck altogether. And now they have a provisional measures order against them by the court indicating that they are plausibly engaged in genocide in the Gaza Strip. Not a happy place to be if you're the Israelis. The big takeaway, of course, is that to the extent that the court has now indicated that genocide is plausibly happening in Gaza, that means third states like Canada, the United States are under a specific positive obligation to ensure that they don't, that they're not complicit in genocide, that they don't provide Israel with arms, diplomatic support, and other such support. Otherwise, they may be viewed by the court eventually to be aiding or abetting genocide in the Gaza Strip.
And Sarah, let me pick up on that point in terms of Canada's reaction. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mélanie Joly, did issue a statement a few hours ago saying that Canada supports the ICJ, but doesn't support the premise of the case brought by South Africa. And it doesn't address this question. Do you feel this interim ruling places any kind of duty or obligation on Canada to take some sort of action now?
No, I don't. And in fact, I think that Minister Joly's response was spot on. It's worth repeating that we don't have a ruling on the merits of the case yet. We also don't have a ruling on jurisdiction or admissibility. All of those are still to come. This was really just a provisional measures request, provisional measures ruling. So we don't have any answer on whether or not there's been actually breaches of the Genocide Convention. And provisional measures are really just ordered to protect rights that may or may not be held pending a final determination by the court of Palestinians. So I don't think we can go quite that far. And in terms of Canada's obligations under the Genocide Convention, obligations to prevent, this is a really important topic. Critically, these obligations come into play when there's a serious risk of genocide. So all the courts decided today is that there's a plausible risk of genocide. I don't think plausible equals serious risk. I mean, I'm not sure if there's specific jurisprudence on that discrete point, but I really don't think we're there yet.
Ardi, let me ask you that. Do you think Canada does have an obligation even with this interim ruling?
The jurisprudence of the International Court of Justice is clear. A substantial risk amounts to a plausible case of genocide. They're the same thing. And Canada obviously now is on notice that there is a plausible case of genocide, a substantial risk that genocide is taking place in the Gaza Strip, and is under a positive obligation to prevent it. That means it needs to adjust its position in respect of Israel's position in Gaza. Otherwise, it may be complicit with genocide unfolding in the Gaza Strip.
I know these issues are complex and they are for many people emotional, and I appreciate you giving your analysis, especially in the limited time we have. Ardi Imseis and Sarah Teich, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.